Hello, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Football Kit Memories, the football podcast that gets under the shirt. Today I meet the chief photographer at Arsenal, Stuart MacFarlane. During a chat, Stuart talks to me about his 20 plus year association with the club, how his role and the demands as club photographer have changed, and he shares some great stories about Arsene Wenger, Dennis Bergkamp, and who else but Nicklas Bendtner. Later, I asked Stuart to pick out 3 of his favourite football shirts and tell me a little bit about what they mean to him. An Arsenal man through and through, we talked about the bruised banana, golden night at Old Trafford, and an invincible season in red. You can listen to this and other episodes of Football Kit Memories on all major audio platforms including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please do like, follow and share, but above all, please do enjoy the podcast. Okay, so today on the podcast, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the chief photographer at Arsenal. It's Stuart MacFarlane. How are you doing, Stuart?
I'm good, Craig. How are you? Thanks for asking me on.
Mate, thank you so much for doing it. Now, we have almost the same surname, but I can confirm we are no relation, right?
No, not that I know of. My grandfather wandered around a little bit back in the day, so you never know.
Yeah, we're probably best off not knowing, right? So, so Stuart, you've worked at Arsenal since 2001, but you did a lot with Arsenal in the 90s when you worked for Colour Sport as well. So you've really been close to the club for a really long time, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Colour Sport got the contract for Arsenal the year after Anfield '89. So I started covering games for the club in sort of September '89, but I've obviously covered a few games in the previous couple of seasons. But
right,
yeah, it sort of started from there, really.
Right. Colour Sport is because I grew up an Arsenal fan, so Colour Sport is a really nostalgic name for me because I remember seeing on you used to get Junior Gunners magazines and things, and you'd see Colour Sport on all the pictures at the bottom as like a watermark. So it's just really cool to hear that name again. I hadn't thought about it in ages.
Yeah, so we were based in. It came about because I think that season Arsenal played France in a friendly. I don't know if I'm sure people remember it at Highbury, and the programme editor was looking for some French player pictures.
Right.
So they came to us at Colour Sport. We provided them, and the following season, when they were looking for photographic agency to look after their games, it was sort of natural to come to us. So it sort of started from there. The French connection with Arsenal started that early.
Wow. So did you grow up an Arsenal fan?
Yeah, my dad's Chelsea fan, and he took me there a few times in the late 70s, which was really, you can imagine what Chelsea and football was like at that time. But my best friend who lived up the road from me was an Arsenal fan, so he used to run around in his Arsenal kit, and I used to sort of, he was the best footballer in the street. He was the best looking kid in the street, and and I just used to follow him around and sit in his bedroom, listen to the old LPs of cup finals and stuff. So it was always Arsenal for me, even though my dad tried to take me to Chelsea a few times, but that was really in the sort of bad old days when all the football violence was going on. So it wasn't a great experience for me anyway.
Right. And so did you kind of fall into this, or is this something that you always planned to work for Arsenal, be involved in sports photography?
No, I did fine art at art school after I went to school. So I wanted to be a painter, and then realised there was no work in painting. So I went back and did graphic design, and then realised that graphic design, I got so bored with it, and then went back and did photography. I did photography at school,
right?
And I just wanted to do sort of reportage, people. So I'd go out and just wander around London and take portraits of people in the street and stuff like that, just recording stuff. And then when I was at college, my lecturer just found an ad for a photo agency as a black and white printer to work in the darkroom and as a junior photographer. And I just applied for it thinking it wouldn't get anything. And it was Colour Sport, and it was a sports agency.
Right.
And when I got in there, I thought it's great. It's close to Arsenal, so I can pop to Arsenal for home games after work. And then after a couple of weeks, they gave me a camera and they said, fancy popping up to Arsenal to take some pictures. I thought, my God, it's going to save me £2.50 to get in. So I'll sit pitch side and take it. But I never thought that I would even after I'd worked there for about 5 years and I was going out all the time, I never considered myself as being a photographer.
Right.
You know, it was just I'm sort of blagging it a little bit here, but I've been doing it for 30 years now, so I think maybe I am a photographer now.
This is kind of like a happy accident then, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit, it is luck, and I think young people always ask me about how to get in the industry, and I always say, look, it's a lot about luck. It's more about luck and then about skill. So if you know the right person or the opportunity arises at the right time, you know, you sort of do make your own luck in a way. But I was very lucky to get in where I got, and then the whole Arsenal connection as well. I'd never dreamed to be where I am now, really. I didn't think that was ever going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, like when you spend that amount of time with the club as well, like you become synonymous with it. Your remit, it covers everything from kind of like training all the way through to match photography, commercial stuff as well. I'm guessing over that time period, your job must have changed so much.
Yeah, initially when I started, we had a commercial department of two guys and one secretary, and that was it. So I used to do a catalogue shoot with the players, as you can imagine, trying to get the players. Oh, Tony Adams, can you please wear this lumberjack jacket, please? and it was basically that, and then a few bit of product photography, and then the team stuff. But now there's two of us now, myself and David Price. David has been with me. He was with me at Colour Sport, and now he's been here for 18 years now. So, you know, we do everything from the under nines at the academy, women's team, the men's team, plus all our community stuff. We documented the whole building of Emirates from the moment the first sort of shovel was put in the ground right up until the topping out on the opening of the stadium. So it's sort of varied. It's not. I wouldn't consider myself a football photographer. I'm a club photographer. So we cover absolutely everything that goes on at the club. You know, during lockdown, we've been doing stuff in hospitals, food drops, documenting all that.
Right.
So there's a big sort of cross section of stuff we do. And for my sort of sanity, because you do not just football, you get to meet so many different people across all aspects of the football club and society, within our community. It's really rewarding.
Yeah. I can't believe there's only two of you in the team that do all the photos.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, there are days that we could do with another 3 people.
Right.
And there are days that, during close season, we've got probably a quiet 3 weeks where we're just sort of tidying stuff up and it's very quiet. But generally, people don't think that we're busy, but there is quite a lot to cover, and the editing obviously takes quite a while to go. You shoot a game, you do a sort of big edit that night, and then you do a second edit the next day. So a game is 2 days of work, really.
Right. And is there an aspect of it, you talked about all those different areas that you photograph for the club. Is there an aspect of it that you prefer over others?
I mean, really, the bread and butter is the match stuff. I mean, that's the most challenging because you can never, you can do a set of portraits or you can do some feature stuff with a player and you can plan all your lighting and stuff like that. And that's all under your control. But when you're dealing with footballers during matches, there's nothing that you can do. You have to react to what's going on. So that's the most challenging. But then I love doing the stuff. Our community stuff is great. When we take players to, obviously we did before COVID, when we take players to schools, or we take them to hospitals, that's probably the most rewarding because you see the reaction of the general public when they, and kids at school when they see players and stuff like that. That's really rewarding.
Right. I mean, it's all about the club being in the community as well, isn't it? And it's easy to forget that with the Premier League and the way it is. I guess there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. It's amazing that the club documents all that stuff.
Well, we've always been a community club, and I've got friends who I've got to know who live in local estates, and some kids who've come from really troubled background, and the one constant for them is knowing that Arsenal are there. The team are down the road. We've got a brilliant community hub where they come and they can play football, and a lot of after school stuff for kids, and we do a lot of soccer schools and educational stuff for local kids who maybe don't have the advantages of other kids. So that's great. And our community department's been going for about 35, 36 years, and it's
Right.
probably bigger and stronger than it's ever been now.
That's great. So do you know if the way you guys work, the kind of things that you do cover, and your team structure and stuff, is that the same across the Premier League and across other teams in Europe? Do you know, or do Arsenal do it different?
I think the way that we work.
Yeah.
I think every club photographer is unique to each other's club. I've got a lot of friends who are staff guys at other clubs, and they might not cover the sort of same stuff as us. I came in 2001, and my remit was to build a historical library of Arsenal images.
Right.
And at the time, I was asked to do that, and for me, that meant recording everything across the board. At other clubs, it may, no guys at other clubs, I won't name them, but their only remit is to cover first team training and first team matches.
Okay.
So, I think I'm here. I want someone to look back in 50, 100 years and look at everything that we've shot and say, look, this is what they did. This is what they did, in 2000 and, from 2001 to 2000 and, whenever I leave.
Yeah.
So I don't think everyone does quite the same, but some may do more, some may do less.
Do you go back into the kind of archives of Arsenal from before you were working there? Do you ever do any work with that kind of stuff into the history?
Well, we've got a before we left Highbury, what we did, there was lots of old prints and photo albums sort of hidden away in the lofts of the old East Stand at Highbury.
Right.
So we went and we copied everything. We scanned everything. We've got it all as an archive.
Yeah.
But we've also got an agreement with Getty Images, who've got a couple of really good Arsenal archives, which we're allowed to tap into. But it's funny that there's not much around, but when you dig into it, there are some great pictures that are unseen. So I love looking at the old stuff. The old stuff's better than the current stuff.
Yeah.
I know Getty have got a lot of unscanned Arsenal stuff in their offices, which I'd love to get my hands on, but it's just finding the time to do it.
Yeah, of course, it's time consuming. But, like you say, in 50 years' time, people will look back on the photos that you're taking and feel the same way. I'm sure it would be like looking into a different world. And the fact that you're documenting so much of it will be so good for that, I think.
Yeah, it's just, I'm proud. We've got over 1 million pictures in our library now.
Wow.
And I'd like to think that people would look back and say, oh, that's a great picture. Who took that? Oh, it's that guy, Stuart MacFarlane. I'll be long gone by then. But,
yeah,
it's silly stuff. Like I look back at the stuff in the 50s and you've got players in the bath smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer after a game. Or, I looked back at some stuff the other day from 2000 when the players arrive at Highbury and everyone's there with a little compact camera taking pictures of players as they're getting off. And you look at it and you think, my God, it's so... Even now, you look back and think, everyone's got camera phones now. What will it be like in 20 years' time? What will they have? So it's quite nostalgic to look back. Even it makes me feel like I've been here for so long. But even when you look back now from when I first started, the fashion has changed, how people communicate has changed. It's quite funny to look back to see, because you don't think things have changed, do you, in 20 years? But they've massively changed the way that people dress and and how they, social media and cameras and stuff and camera phones. It's staggering, really.
The tech is crazy. I think, you're right. The kind of photographs that people will be able to take on their phones in 20 years' time will be frightening, I guess. But
I'll be out of work probably.
Well, I was about to say, like this, everybody's an amateur photographer, but there's so much skill involved in actually being able to capture the right image at the right time. I'm sure there'll always be a specialty for it,
I hope so.
So I wanted to ask you a bit about kind of traveling with the team, obviously like European games especially, but even traveling around the country to away games and stuff.
Yeah, well, at the moment we don't travel so much with the team for domestic, but we travel on European and tours. It's very different to traveling going through Gatwick on a package holiday. Yeah, we get looked after. It's good, it's good. It's a good way to travel. We generally, for European trips, we will train in the morning. We'll travel all to the airport separately, and then all on the team flight. So we try and sort of capture the players getting on the plane and photograph them on the plane, and same at the other end. But it's just a sort of it's just a bit of a norm now. When I used to travel with the team, back in the day, you know, I'd get on the bus, I'd sit on the steps outside the toilet, and because there'd be no spare seats, and I'd have my laptop.
Oh, wow.
Coach would be going round corners, and there'll be food flying off the table. And, you know, and I'd have to move every 10 seconds because someone wanted to get in the toilet for a pee. You know, I'm desperately trying to edit my stuff before we get to the airport, and then you've got to pack everything up, get it all on the plane. I'll be the last person on the plane because no one had any bags apart from me. I had all my cameras and walked past the players, they're all tutting at me because I'm holding them up, you know. So it's a good way to travel. But then sometimes now when the team fly back from say Manchester, I can, you know, if I didn't have any work to do, I could probably beat them back because there's so much of it is waiting at an airport, going through customs, you know, or whatever, getting on a plane.
Yeah.
And I've got to admit, I'm not a great flyer.
Right.
So I'm happier on the motorway than I am in the air.
Like Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah, me and Dennis, you know, funny enough, Dennis, when we used to have training camp in Austria, Dennis would drive out there, and his family would drive him out there. We used to go to a place called Bad Wurstersdorf in Austria.
Yeah.
So, and we go by coach to most games. And there was a game that the team flew. It was like an hour and a half, and I went on the bus with Dennis, Vic Akers, who was our old kit man and women's manager, and then Amanda Doherty, who was my old boss. So we had a 7-hour little jolly on the motorway, which is like one of my favourite sort of moments of my Arsenal time, just sitting messing about with them on the coach. It was really like a lovely day.
Nice. I wanted to ask you as well about the stadium move in 2006. Obviously, building a new stadium, I wondered if any of the features that were built into the stadium were built with you and photography in mind specifically.
Well, I was quite lucky because we had a sort of media committee with the architects. So I was advised on stuff from working positions, photographer's room, floodlighting. They were really keen on it being the best stadium of its time. So I was heavily involved with that. The only thing I didn't get was a free bar in the photographer's room for after the game. But they get well treated, and I think if you speak to a lot of photographers who come to Emirates, they will say it's the best stadium to work at. There's lots of space.
Right.
The Wi-Fi is great. Floodlights are fantastic. The backgrounds are brilliant for photographers when there's fans in.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky to be involved in that, and proud of what, you know, we can welcome people come in, and you know, when they go, a lot of guys email me afterwards and say thanks, and what a great experience it was.
Right, that's great. So you wrote a book with Amy Lawrence as well, chronicling Arsene Wenger's time at the club. So he was there for 22 years, and he's kind of, I guess, he spanned a lot of your career as well. What was it like for you? I'm sure you must have built up a relationship with him. What was it like for you seeing him leave the club and seeing things change?
It was, you know, for me, it was sort of heartbreaking in a way, even though I'm sure that everyone sort of agreed it was the right time. But he was so incredible to work with. He trusted me so much. I had sort of free run of the training ground. He never questioned what I was doing.
Yeah.
He trusted me not to put any pictures out that would cause any offence or upset to any of the staff and any of the players. You know, I didn't have to. He didn't have to come and, you know, if ever there was something a bit contentious on the training grounds, he would never come and speak to me about it. You know, I knew when he was playing his starting 11, so I would never, you know, I would adapt what I sent out, so I couldn't give the starting 11 out.
Okay.
So there was a lot of trust there, but you know, we generally would talk strangely. Like once in pre-season, we'd have a chat, maybe 5-10 minute chat for pre-season, and then the rest of it would be, "Hello, Stuart, how are you? Hi, boss, how are you?" And that would be it. And until he announced that until Amy and I did the book, and then until Arsene announced that he was leaving, and then I spent a lot of time in his company.
Right.
And we had some really good conversations about, you know, our families and our children and stuff like that. And you know, he was generally interested in his staff and their families and their well-being. You know, he's a unique man, and I mean, I'm so lucky to have worked with him or worked for him. just a great man.
Yeah. So look, Stuart, I've got one more question about your career before we start talking about your football shirts. What I wanted to ask you is, obviously, being there for so long, you build up relationships with players, you're taking photos of them every day. Who's been the most difficult person to take photos of? Who's messed you around, or who likes to, play pranks, that kind of stuff?
Do you know there to be? Oh, Nicklas Bendtner, maybe Nick. Well, we did the squad picture one season on the pitch at Emirates, and then I shot and it's big pressure. It's big pressure to get, because you've got 30 odd people.
Yeah.
You've got to get one frame where they've all got their eyes open, they're all looking
Of course.
at you, and they're all happy with it as well.
Yeah.
And then after I did it, I thought, right, this is done. And then Bentner came up to me and he said, did you get my picture of Pinocchio? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I had a little Pinocchio. I went to McDonald's, had a McDonald's breakfast this morning, like kids' breakfast, and he's got a little plastic Pinocchio. And I said, no, you didn't have it. And he said, yeah, I did. I had it on Andre Arshavin's shoulder. I said, no, you didn't. And we were shooting film. We used to shoot the squad photo on film. So I was in the stadium. I had to go back after the day because we had other stuff to do afterwards, and walk back to my office, process it, and lo and behold, there it was. On virtually every frame was this little Pinocchio on Andre Arshavin's shoulder with a. But luckily enough, I've managed. There was a couple of frames without, but then I had to sort of Photoshop a few heads to make it to actually get a decent one. So he was quite. Yeah, I haven't quite forgiven him for that, but you know what? They're okay. I think when you work with them on a daily basis, they're not difficult. They might keep you waiting for a little bit, and they might not have as much time. If they go on a kit shoot, they might, with one of their sponsors, they might do 2 hours, but I might take. They like it with me because it take 10 minutes, because I make sure that I know what they're like. I know what footballers are like. They're not going to give you 2 hours of their time.
Right.
So I just try to get stuff set up, sorted, all the lighting set up, everything done properly. But I've done player features for magazines in 5 minutes,
right,
and they'll go, come on, I haven't got much time. But generally, they're pretty easy to deal with, and especially because I talk to them the way I talk to my kids. Some of them, sometimes you've got to just be blunt and then tell them off if they're not doing the right thing. I'm old enough now to get away with that, I think.
Authority figure at the club.
I think so.
So look, let's talk about some football shirts, Stuart. So the first question I ask everybody on the podcast is, what, if anything, do football shirts mean to you?
They're a few different things. For me, it's the identity of the club. I've got two sons. One's 21 and one's 2, and the 21-year-old's had every Arsenal shirt since he was a baby.
Yeah.
And I think that I bought them all because I just love looking at him in them. I've got a 2-year-old who's got the same now, so
right.
They just make me smile every time I see a shirt that I like. It makes me smile, and it reminds me about certain players and about certain games. But I think they're so important, and I only think that kids and maybe footballers should wear them. I'm not really sure if people my age should be wearing them, but I think they just mean so much. But it's funny that at certain games you wouldn't even wear them. Tottenham away, fans don't even wear them, and then the moment they get out and walk down Seven Sisters, they take their jacket off and they've got the shirt underneath. It's an identity, isn't it? It makes you feel like you're part of the team.
Yeah. So your first choice is a very popular one. It's the bruised banana 91 to 93 away shirt by Adidas. How come you've chosen this one?
Yeah, it's when that first came out, it was strange because there was sort of uproar amongst the Arsenal fans, and it was mocked by so many people.
Yeah.
I can't say that when I first saw it, I thought, oh my God, that's disgusting. And then it was actually that game made me really like it, because that's obviously we're on 20-year anniversary of passing of David Rocastle. That was a very famous game where Wrighty scored Ian Wright scored 3 goals and Rocky scored the 4th.
Right.
And Wright talks about it being as his favourite ever game that he played in. And I remember the game really well. It was just a standard league game. I got the train down there with a friend of mine, sat in the awkward positions to work at Southampton, and it was a beautiful day, and that kit just looked amazing under those, in the sunshine there, and in those yellow shorts as well, and we won, and it's sort of probably become more important to me, that kit, over the years after Rocky died,
right,
and then since Wrighty's talked about that game as well, and then that kit. So it's a really special picture, and I went down on the day, had a set of pictures, thought they're quite nice, and I didn't really think about it for a few years, and then you go back and look at it, and you think that's a really important game in moment in our time, and then you can't help but not love that shirt, and we obviously Adidas brought a version of it back this season, which was incredibly popular, but it was never going to be as good as the one from that time.
I really like, I mean, we're just coming off recently all the stuff with David Rocastle. So I think the club and you guys did a really, really good job with kind of commemorating that anniversary. It's very sad, obviously, but it's amazing that he's still remembered at the club so fondly.
Well, he even now, at the time, back in the day when he was playing, it was the first chant that the North Bank would sing on a match day when he was playing. And it's easy to talk about people after they've passed, to say what an incredible person they were, but when you look at the love that that Rocky had, and we had to do something special this year, and it was brilliant to be involved with that. I knew him well, but not as well as others,
right?
But to be able to do something for the fans, and to show some of the younger fans who he was, and and what he represented, was really special for us, for all of us at the club.
Where does that kind of like art direction come from? Does that come from you, or does that come from somebody in the marketing team at the club, or elsewhere?
It comes from, generally, we've got staff who knew Rocky really well. We've got a great video team as well. So there's a few ideas. There's a few meetings with a lot of us involved about what we can do. So it's a collective, really, of about 10 or 15 people.
Right.
And then I think that everything was run by Rocky's family, by Janet, his wife, and his 3 kids, and it all had to sort of be approved. And Ian Wright was heavily involved, because at the outset he was really wanted to make a big thing of it. So it's a collective across the club, and not just staff who've been here for a while, even some staff who've only been here for 6 to 8 months. We're really invested in it, and I thought Saturday would have been a great day if we'd have won, but it was a great day because of everything that we could have done for Rocky and his family.
It's amazing. Well, it's a very popular shirt, and obviously really popular figure at the club. We're going to move on to your second choice. So this is another away shirt. This is the gold away shirt from 0102 by Nike. This is the double winning shirt.
Yeah, and we didn't ever lose a game in it either.
Right.
So we wore it over 2 seasons. We had 02 on the first season, I think, and Sega on this, or it's the other way around.
I think,
Other way around, yeah. So we never lost I don't think we ever lost a game in it.
Right.
And it was such a lovely, the feel of it. It didn't feel like a football shirt. It felt like a sort of like soft sort of corduroy finish to it. And it was just so many great memories from that season in that shirt, and obviously winning the league at Old Trafford. That's what that game was from, and so many great little stories and memories from that night. And every time I look at that shirt, I just think about that night and what unbelievable. I travelled up and back with the team. After we won, we were in the dressing room, and then Freddie Lundberg said to me, see if the fans are still in the stadium, and they sent me out. I ran past the stewards. One of them threw a kick at me as I ran down the tunnel.
Really?
One of the Man United stewards.
Did not realise who you were?
Yeah. And I ran out onto the pitch. I saw the fans are still being kept in, so I ran back in the dressing room and I said, "They're still out there." And then that was just a great moment. I ran down the middle of the pitch at Old Trafford with the Arsenal team, running backwards, trying to take pictures of them.
Yeah,
But that shirt, I'll always look at that and think. I always think that was we won the league at Old Trafford in that shirt.
yeah. Well, I think that team as well is frightening, wasn't it? Because you still got that like a lot of elements like that old school back four at Arsenal that you had throughout
Yeah,
the kind of 90s, but then you've got these amazing kind of, like Vieiras and Henri and things like that. Just like the change that Wenger was bringing in, it's a frightening team, wasn't it?
it had absolutely everything, and it had some unbelievable characters in there, different types of characters, people like Ray Parlour to Robert Pires. You couldn't get two more sort of different personalities, but it all seemed to click, and it was one of those moments in time where you think this might never happen again. So I just tried to enjoy it as much as I did, but just seeing them line up in the tunnel or walk out onto the pitch, it was like, wow, we mean business. And this shirt, and certainly at away games when you go and you're supposed to be intimidated by the home fans, this lot weren't. They walked out in that shirt. They weren't intimidated at all. They would go and bully and run all over teams, and it was. Like the Invincibles season, you went to games and you think we're not going to win this, we're not going to lose this. This is our time.
Yeah. There must be so much pressure on you, like everything you talked about looking forward in 50 years' time. You're there capturing history as it happens. There must be a lot of pressure there to get the right shot and make sure you don't miss anything.
I don't. I think the only pressure I've got is pressure I put on myself, really.
Right.
And I'm lucky that David's a fantastic photographer, so we tend to cover each other. We don't miss too much, but we've missed a couple. We've missed a couple of things, but we
Really?
don't generally. Well, after Thierry scored the last goal at Highbury, he kissed the pitch,
Right.
and a steward stood right in front of me. Soon as I got Thierry in my focus, and then this guy stood up and blocked me. Lost my cool very slightly, and then he apologised. And I thought, I can't really ask him to do that again.
No.
So there are a few regrets, but really you have to try and put them out of your mind and sort of bounce back a little bit. But generally, we've got goals from cup finals, trophy lifts, and stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff you can sort of stage anyway.
Yeah.
When Arsene left, we had the game against Burnley. I was heavily involved in what we do with how we try and sort of stage manage that. It's my idea for him to walk out to the middle of the pitch on his own and wave,
Right.
which logistically on the day was quite tricky, but holding people back, keeping TV off the pitch and stuff. But generally, we've got good people here who, if you give them a good idea, they'll make sure they'll do their best to make it work.
Yeah.
So the pressure is pressure on myself. I don't get masses of pressure from the club. They know I've got quite a lot of experience, and they'll just let me run with it, really.
Yeah. How much kind of competition is there between you and, say, photographers from the press trying to get the same shot, trying to get in position for the best shot and stuff?
Well, really, we we shoot for the club, and then that's it primarily.
Yeah.
There's not really competition. We put our pictures through Getty Images, which go out on their feed to all their offices. So it's not a massive priority. If I get a great picture during the game, for me is, can I get another great picture 2 minutes later? Not, I'm going to bury my head in my laptop for 10 minutes and miss a picture. You're there to photograph the game.
Right.
Newspaper guys and the agency guys are there for the moment. The moment for them isn't a great picture of one of our players running down the wing with the ball bouncing up around his shoulders. For
Yeah.
me, that's a really good picture to have, because it can get used across all our channels for our sponsors. A newspaper guy is not interested in that. So there isn't competition, but I don't even look at the papers. I don't really I can't be bothered, to be honest.
Right.
If someone's got your picture in the paper, I'll look at it, and I'll think, oh, that's quite nice that it's in there, but not competition. I think I compete with myself. I just try and get better every game if I can. It's nice to get pictures used in someone else's newspaper, especially if they're sitting next to you, but I don't ever look at the papers anyway.
Right. What would you say is like the greatest picture you've ever taken at Arsenal?
It's really tricky, because it's probably linked to moments.
Hmm.
So, probably one of my most well-known pictures is, 'cause I was 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 it's probably lots. Well, not even that. Sylvan Wiltord scoring the winning goal at Old Trafford,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not even in focus. It's not even in focus. But there's been, there's a lot to think about. I haven't really got one because I tend not to look back too far, only if something springs to mind.
Right.
So I'll look back now and I'll say, what's my favourite picture I've taken? I'll say I did some stuff with Bukayo Saka wearing David Rocastle's shirt, him just walking down the corridor at the training ground. That's my favourite one I've taken recently.
Right.
And then hopefully after Thursday it'll be another game from. But I'm not one of these people who has got a portfolio who says, look at this, look at this.
Yeah.
It's just about, for me, it's moments and capturing the moments.
Yeah. Always looking forward kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, look, let's move on to your third and final shirt. So this is another Invincible shirt. I didn't know that gold one was Invincible as such, but
No, that was the away Invincibles.
the away
So
Invincibles.
we didn't lose a game away in that 2002 season. We didn't lose a game in it.
Nice
So
stats.
yeah. So that's another reason. Never lost a game in a shirt. So it's always good to have it in the top three.
So this one is the home shirt then worn by the Invincibles in the Invincible season. So it's between 02 and 04, and the Invincible season was 03-04, wasn't it?
304, yeah. It's just a great shirt. It's just a classic, plain red and white. Always loved the 02 logo on the front.
Yeah.
And the white socks. Thierry pulled them up over his knees. And we just looked so good in it, and it didn't matter if it was bright sunshine or under the floodlights. The red just stood out so much.
Yeah,
it's just a classic. It's probably is the most famous Arsenal shirt about, or the most seen, maybe.
Yeah. Does it matter to you when a new shirt comes out? Do you actually think about how that will look throughout? Like you mentioned in the sunlight, how will that look throughout the season in the different kind of changeable weather, etc.? Does that bother you at all?
It does bother me because I think that some kit manufacturers will look at it in a room with a lot of bright lights, and they don't look at it on a football perspective.
Yeah.
We had a Nike dark blue shirt years ago, and we wore it away at Everton, and the floodlights at Everton at the time were terrible. We scored sort of 8 or 10 players celebrating in the corner of the pitch, and you literally couldn't see anybody because it's a dark shirt. And I think for the players as well, it must be tricky for them to see something that's really that dark.
Yeah,
because a lot of stadiums now have got new LED floodlights, and they do. Most stadiums are okay, but if you go to play an FA Cup game at a lower league ground and you're wearing a shirt that's really dark,
yeah,
it's impossible to photograph. And also I think for the fans and for the players, it's difficult to pick out your players.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you've got to wear a white shirt wherever you go, but you can't. That blue shirt that Nike did, it's a lovely shirt in the sunshine, but the moment you stuck it, you got. I think who scored? Was it Sol? I think Sol Campbell scored at Everton, or Colo scored.
Right.
Literally, the whole corner of the pitch was. Maybe it says more about Everton's floodlighting that time than it did about Nike's choice of kit.
Yeah, it's old school stadium, isn't it, Goodison Park?
Yeah.
So it's very rare that people pick 3 shirts from the same club. So what I'm going to do is just ask you, which out of those is your favourite out of all of those? I'd
say probably it'd have to be just for I think because red and white is our colour. I know I've chosen two away kits only because I think red and white is what we are, is what are our colours, have been for over 100 years.
Yeah,
and it's that shirt that's probably got the fondest memories of 90% of Arsenal fans.
Yeah. That's a nice choice, mate. Mate, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Just like 3 amazing shirt choices. People can follow you on Instagram and Twitter. You post some amazing photos, right?
Yeah, some half decent ones.
Yeah, they're not too bad. I enjoy them. I enjoy them for sure. But yeah, thanks so much, Stuart. Thanks so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
So there you have it. Massive thanks to Stuart for sharing his football kit memories with me. You can follow me and my own collection on Instagram or get in touch via Twitter or email. Make sure you follow Stuart too. He's on Instagram and Twitter. He posts some absolutely incredible behind the scenes photos of Arsenal. The music you heard was produced by Evil Ed. Check out his music on his Bandcamp. There's links to everything I've mentioned in the notes section. And finally, thanks for listening. If you have enjoyed it, please do spread the word, give me a follow on social, and subscribe to Football Kit Memories on your podcast player of choice. Other than that, I'll catch you next time.